All right, we are live, and why don't we wait a few minutes? I'm still waiting for some folks to join us. I know we got a few more that'll be on the webcast here with us. So if you just want to bear with us for a few more minutes, we'll get going in a couple more seconds here.
Sure.
Hope everybody's doing well. You guys are looking good. I think I'm looking at myself. I think I need a haircut here.
Yeah, I don't have that issue.
Yeah, I'm having that problem too, John.
Brett's getting a little shaggy looking too. I don't know.
Yeah.
So why don't we get going? I think we're still getting a few more people joining us, but we got a group here already. So I'm John Casper with the Oshkosh Chamber. Thanks for joining us. This is a first of our series with Stellar Blue, titled "Surviving to Thriving." Part one is starts today. It's how's your online foundation. We'll be following by every Tuesday at 11 a.m. We'll be online with Stellar Blue. Who we have with us today is Jim Dubinsky, owner and co-founder of Stellar Blues Technology. So Jim, it's nice seeing you again.
Yeah, you too, John.
Brett Hildebrand, lead project strategist, and Tyler Hoffman, project strategist, all with Stellar Blue. So with that, I'm not going to take up much more time. I think everyone who's listening is on mute. If you have questions, just use the Q&A button and ask your question. And I think after we're done, we'll try to answer questions. So I'm not sure who goes first, but I'm guessing it's Jim. So Jim,
that'd be me, sir. All right. Well, thank you, John. Yeah, as John was saying, I'm the founder and managing director at Stellar Blue Technologies, and we really appreciate the opportunity to partner with the Oshkosh Chamber. We've been helping out a lot of our clients, fielding a lot of phone calls. Being a digital marketing and development agency, we've been helping a ton of people make their website transactional, figure out how to connect their products to a bank. You know, restaurants are trying to create a product or a transactional stream, and so on. Basically, every company has to be thinking that way nowadays. So we've been fielding a lot of questions. Our two strategists here have been the points for us. They're the ones that are communicating directly with all the questions that come in. So we thought we'd get together. We'd talk a little bit about what we've experienced, what is in front of us, and how we're helping others make money online. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you two guys, and you can start telling us your stories about what's going on out there and how you're helping people.
Sure. I'll jump in first. And I know, Brett, you can feel free to jump in anytime. I'm trying to, I think I need to get access to be able to share my screen to get that presentation up. Are we able to, John, are we able to get that access?
Tyler?
Yeah,
Tyler,
is that Mark?
Yeah, it's Mark.
Hey,
do you
Mark.
have do you have a hidden toolbar somewhere with a green share screen button on it?
Yeah, it says host disabled attendee screen sharing, so I'm not sure why I'm getting that message.
I will switch that. All right, give it a try now.
There we go.
Alrighty.
All right, let's give this a try. We'll give this a try. All right, hopefully everyone can see my screen. Brett, can you see it?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, sweet. Okay, so ultimately, as Jim mentioned, we've been getting a lot, contacted like crazy just to speak to a number of different items on how especially small businesses can be a bit more sustainable and really grow their business looking forward with all this COVID stuff. We're kind of coming out of that transition right now. So as a project strategist, it's my job, and I know Brett is right in there in the same boat, meeting with all the time to try to figure out how we can be, really get that cash flow going more. There's a lot of different ways to do that. So we try to create scalable solutions that are really cost effective now, knowing that we can build them out as the cash flow is growing. So We're going to kind of talk through the basics of that today, and then we'll really get into, as next Tuesday, I know we're going to talk a bit more e-commerce, and we'll keep growing into a bit more specific, but this is a little bit more high level today. So let's see if I can move this forward. So ultimately what we're looking at here, I gotta minimize my screen quick, is like I said, we're high level foundation. Part 2 of the series is going to be more transactional. So we'll really dive further into the e-commerce elements of this whole concept. Part 3 of the series is going to be very much more focused on marketing. And then part 4 of the series is going to be kind of utilizing analytics, or diving further into how to utilize your analytics to better be focused on that ad spend and really make sure this is all tying together for you. Because really, when push comes to shove, it's all about ROI at this point. So, so we'll dive into just a quick high level of kind of what those are. This is the descriptions that we have for each of the parts. So I encourage you to check them out. Like we said, it's every Tuesday at 11 a.m. We'll have part 1 today, part 2 next week, and so on. Today we're going to start with really that foundation. We kind of use a building block model internally, and we share that with our clients because it really is a great way for us to kind of build from a foundation and make sure that they are set up for success as they grow their website and online presence. So we're really just going to start with that today. Then we'll take a deeper dive into being transactional, and that's really just getting the cash flow on your site. And then, like I said, marketing is going to be critical. We'll talk about some advertising and marketing strategies, and then analytics on the back end. So first and foremost, crisis. Obviously, we've all survived. If we're here, I hope we survived the crisis so far. We're not really out of it yet, right? But we're starting to, plant the seed for what that strategy is going to be moving forward. So we went from that, that everything's urgent, because we're kind of all in panic mode on how we're going to be sustainable and how we're going to survive this crisis. And now we're starting to put a little bit more strategy into that, right? We've kind of taken some of the first steps, and we're getting into, okay, things aren't quite as urgent, so we can be more strategic on these decisions. And so this is just kind of a good way to look at how we're going about bringing our business to the next level, and how your website and your online presence in general is really going to help you do that. So I don't know, Brett, if you had anything to chime in with as far as this particular slide goes. I know this is your bread and butter.
Yeah, this is just, if you guys are familiar with Stephen Covey's 4 quadrants, we're taking this off, and, it's for organizing your tasks throughout the day and get your urgent, important things done. But we've just noticed in the beginning when, COVID hit, so to speak, everybody was focused internally on their business, and how can I make sure that we can stay afloat? And so everything is urgent and important, and it was all internal focus. Some people, we noticed some of our, clients, just kind of fell off the grid, so to speak, because they're trying to make sure that they can, get their cash flow, they can keep their employees and all that. And as Tyler alluded to, now people are trying to loosen it up. We have the Badger bounce back plan, and now we're starting to notice that people coming out of this are going to have more time to interact and talk about how they can start going from just surviving to thriving. And so we just wanted to share this and just talk how people are more focused external now, which is really great. So
yeah, thanks, Brett. So really, a lot of it comes down to what's that new norm. So we dive in, and push comes to shove. If your clients, your customers can't interact with you in person, which for many of us, they cannot right now, other than, video face-to-face. How can you get them to interact with your brand, your company online? So really, it's kind of an interesting topic. Social media, everyone's talked, social media for years now, but social media is all about driving that traffic. You build a following, and then you drive traffic. And where do you drive it to? Hopefully your website, right? And that website is supposed to be that transactional element. So we're going to dive in a little bit further into that social media part real quick. Interesting stat that I wanted to share with you guys. I found the device usage is crazy on the rise right now. Since COVID-19, ages 16 to 64, smartphone and mobile use is up 76%. So obviously people are online substantially. I mean, beyond social media, people are using their computers, their tablets and their smartphones exponentially more right now. So right now it's critical to be online. We have some more crazy stats coming up here shortly that just kind of outline the importance of making sure that your online presence is stellar, pun intended. So I'll skip over to social media first. So ultimately, it can be as simple as just make sure your hours are updated. You know, Facebook, a lot of platforms have, you know, a short bio profile. Make sure you're keeping that up to date. You can even change your image within, you know, what you're, in this case, Facebook, to have your updated hours. So that's critical. And a lot of people, it's an oversight. They try to update just their website or they forget about it altogether. But it's really critical because that's the first element that people are seeing when they look up, you know, if they Google you, you know, what are they seeing? You've got to make sure that that's up to date. So also make sure you're linking to external revenue sources. We have a lot of restaurant clients, hospitality clients that can utilize these different, you know, Eat Street, any e-commerce type of platform right there within their social media. It's all about simplifying the process for that user. That user experience should minimize button clicks, allow them to spend money with you, point blank, spend money with you quickly and easily, because that's really what it comes down to. And then social media, I mean, the usage is up substantially right now, but ad spend is actually down if you look at all the stats. So it's that element where everyone's coming out of that crisis, and during that initial crisis, everyone was just panicking. So they pulled the plug on a lot of their marketing and advertising efforts. So right now is actually a great time to advertise because you can get insane deals and steals. And what's funny is you've got the usage up. So really it is the best time. If you're financially poised to, it is the best time to be advertising right now. So I just wanted to mention that because Brett can probably
one thing on this
that.
was, this is actually a personal case study of my own. Why I put Manila in here is, it was last month and it was my girlfriend's birthday and she wanted sushi, right? And so I'm going around to all the local restaurants. And it was interesting that Manila stood out to me because I was able to shop online right now. They used Eat Street, which made it quick and easy. They had the hours open because I would click around these other places and they either didn't have their hours, you know, you call, you know, nobody's answering the phones. So as an effect of Manila being proactive and doing simple things that we're talking about here, they got my, you know, extensive sushi order. Took an hour for them to prepare because it was so much. We love sushi here. Anyways, but just knowing that, you know, they were able to acquire my business just because they took these simple and easy stats, changes to their Facebook, and they took advantage of making sure they were up on Eat Street or whatever to make sure that they can get money. And then to piggyback off of the social media usage is up, but the ad spend is down. Now is a great time. Your dollar it can go farther in ad spend. So if you took the time to focus on your business first, and now you can maybe loosen the pocketbooks to speak, you can actually capitalize right now on getting more out of advertising because less competition is in there. Less people, even the larger businesses out there are tightening their budget, so to speak. And now is a great time to consider using ads because your dollar can go farther than it could have just a few months ago.
Yeah. Absolutely. Another thing that we always emphasize is do not forget about Google My Business. So it is critical to get in there. That is, if you don't already have a Google My Business account, please go set that up. That is really important, and make sure it's updated. Your listing needs to be frequently updated as necessary. And like we said, make sure that you're talking about what you're offering there. Don't let people think that your status is not been updated because they might just assume, oh, this is old, and then not even bother to check if you have, you know, if you're a restaurant, if you have a takeout option. Again, right now we're focused a little bit more on restaurants. We'll get into how that can all grow, but and then make sure this links back. So just like the Facebook thing, if you have any sort of e-commerce platform, maybe your business that sells clothing, if you can't be open right now for whatever reason, you know, if you're not listed as essential, you can still be selling gift cards online. So is there a way that you can be doing that and making sure that that's linked here, linked to your website? I mean, again, it's just simplifying that process for everyone. But this just goes into some of the high level stats on just, I mean, the amount of things being Googled. People are using their devices so much more right now, especially in these times. So, you know, 5 million searches for coffee shops, and just crazy number of searches happening right now. So it's good to keep that in mind, because Google is a really important element to that, because most people, yes, there are other sources, Bing, etc. Most people are still going, so don't forget that. And then also don't forget analytics. We will take a much deeper dive into that later, but you can learn a lot from your analytics and what your users are experiencing. So we've actually been monitoring a lot of our clients' analytics, and it's pretty incredible to see that some of them are actually doing better, substantially better now than when they were able to be fully open for business. And it's just because they were correctly representing themselves online, and everyone's looking for that ability to get out and interact, and if there's a way to do it online, that's what they're going to do. So once you're driving traffic and you've got engagement, then the key obviously is website. It's used to drive sales. So since COVID-19, here's some crazy stats. Sales of consumer products via online websites is up 30%. Actually, full retailers, just retailers alone, is up 60% as of just like a week ago, I think is when that study was done. And overall, online retail orders, so actual e-commerce orders made for US and Canada is up 146%. So just some crazy numbers. You can see the US is actually one of the leading countries as far as growth in online orders, online sales, and general e-commerce. So, and Brett can probably speak to the impact on e-commerce web traffic overall.
Yeah, I think you can zoom in. You should zoom in there for you.
Yeah, there you go.
There, and I can actually read it. Getting old here. Yeah, so this, you know, this statistics, you know, this graph here is pretty, you know, pretty obvious as to what, you know, people as users are searching for, as well as the markets that are being positively and negatively affected. And if you are in any, you know, no matter what market you're in, you can turn this and flip this to be, you know, try to be a positive for you guys. I mean, supermarkets, you know, everybody's trying to, yeah, obviously it's pretty big. I mean, that's the largest I think I've ever seen in quickly for supermarkets, but we have a few supermarket clients, and one of them was just starting to get his whole online ordering business. He was going to do that. I think it was Q3 of this year. He, you know, sped that up instantly because they're making record sales. So it's just, how can you guys take advantage of the web traffic, because people are searching out there for your services or products. You're definitely gonna have to get really creative if you're, you know, down in the last three, you know, categories there, tourism and luxury items. But once a lot of the travel bans and all that stuff starting to get lifted, you know, people are going to be wanting to go on vacation after they weathered this COVID storm, so to speak. So if you are in the bottom three, make sure you're preparing yourselves for when the bounce back is going to happen. So just wanted to show some really great statistics here. So
yeah, thanks, Brett. Another, you know, very high level, very simple thing that you can do on your existing website is add announcements and pop-ups, maybe a little chat. I mean, anything that can get people to interact and engage with you, or get them the most critical information front and center. So in this case, this client of ours, you know, they wanted to make sure that they had you're seeing a lot of this now, but I'm always really disappointed if I go to a site that I've been looking for information on and they have nothing to update me on their current status. I don't know if they're open, I don't know if they're closed, I don't know if they have online options. It's just a really good way to make sure that people, again, keeping it front and center, keeping people in the loop on where your business is at. So, opening up some other stuff on my computer by accident. All right. So I mentioned building blocks earlier. Hopefully you can all see this. These are kind of the foundation of what we do with every client. We walk them through this process, starting in the lower left and kind of going from left to right, and then we climb up. Discovery and strategy is most important. So we always really dive in to get a better understanding of our clients first and foremost. The reason that I wanted to identify or bring this up is because we're doing the same thing with all of our clients now to really get a better understanding of what they're trying to achieve with their website. So we'll get into a few more details here shortly. I won't go through all of this, but we're kind of in that discovery strategy phase right now, focused on how we can really evolve our business through getting more sales and cash flow online. A big part of that is your security. I mean, security, everyone's talking security right now, even Zoom, Zoom meetings getting hijacked and things like that. Security is critical, and we definitely put a lot of emphasis on that, especially if you're going to be adding any elements of sales. So if you're going to have a form that collects payments or anything like that, it's going to be essential to have the right security. So a lot of that is being strategic with us on what levels, what tiers of hosting and security you need. So just keep that in mind. If you're building out an e-commerce solution of any sort, you're definitely going to want to focus heavily on making sure it's secure. Next, kind of wanted to highlight the basics of survival. So like I mentioned earlier, update your homepage content. It's seriously that simple. You don't have to dive into all this other stuff. Just make sure people understand where you're at right now with your business so that coming out of this, they know. I mean, if people don't know when you're going to be opening up, that's not going to be beneficial. So even if you are completely closed now, at least inform people. People like to be informed. It's all about communication. So keep things front and center. Keep your status up on your homepage. Keep your status up on your social media sites. Your hours of operation are critical. Even if you're closed right now, again, it's critical that you're keeping that open communication with your potential or future clients. Contact information. People are constantly reaching out by phone. So if there's a way to integrate a chat feature, that has been really beneficial for a lot of clients as well. Otherwise, your phones are blowing up with questions that could have been answered by a simple search or a simple visit to your website that had that information front and center. I think, what do we have? Just general announcements. I mentioned that earlier. I showed an example of a pop-up. I mean, that's information you can display it however you want. A lot of people aren't big fans of pop-ups, but right now in such a time where everyone's going to be looking for that very specific information, make sure you include that in that type of either an announcement bar or a pop-up window of some sort. Jumping over. All right. So like I mentioned, that forms. So we didn't really dive into this. I'm going to touch on it now, and then in next Tuesdays, we'll really go into forms and e-commerce in general. But there's a way to simplify and get to market faster than building out full e-commerce on your site. And that's just adding, for us, we do a lot through WordPress, so we add formidable. But it allows you to open up an avenue for your clients, for your visitors to your website to either place an order, make payments. Maybe you're a law firm and you're sending out these paper or digital invoices. Now you could create a way for people to go to your website and actually make a payment online. Now more than ever, that's critical. Nobody can be stopping down by your storefront or actually dropping off checks or things like that. So it's a really good way to make sure you're collecting the money that is owed to you. Shipping is another thing. You can organize shipping. If it's not just placing orders. It's all about automation. So if you can build out a form to organize not only the ordering of a product or service, but if it's a product, how can you ship it? There's a lot of different gateways to do that are already built out. You're not reinventing the wheel. It's just a matter of getting them aligned with your website and creating those plugins and whatnot. And then a simple contact form. Rather than expecting people to go through the process of making a phone call or typing in an email, just have a simple contact form somewhere on your page. If you have it on your homepage, even better. It allows people to just quickly fill out like, hey, I want to, I need a quote, or I need to talk to you, or whatever. It's just faster. Again, it's really the process of simplifying this for your users. So I definitely encourage, if you don't already have at least a contact form on your page, to do that. And then we'll get into e-commerce, and Brett's a little bit more of an expert on the e-commerce stuff, but we're just touching on it today. Gift cards, if you sell products or services, all of that you can build into an online store. We'll really dive a lot further into that next week, but Brett, is there anything you wanted to highlight specific to e-commerce today?
No, I think it's just as a business trying to start, getting creative. We're getting a couple of these questions here. So, know if you want to answer these live, Tyler, but we can answer a few of these here I'm seeing. But yeah, in general, just how can you get creative with some of your products or services that you could, you know, have them people purchase online? And a simple one is just gift cards. People are still, you know, all the COVID birthdays, you know, one of our sons had his birthday, right? And so it's just, you know, last month, so it's just trying to figure out, you know, people are getting them gift cards and stuff. So it's like, if you're able, you know, people want to shop local, you know, and support the local businesses. And so you're making it an easy way for them to purchase a online gift card where then you don't have to mail it out. There's ways to streamline that. We're going to go more detail on some of those really simple and easy ways to do that in a really cost-effective way in our next presentation. But just starting to get the juices flowing of how can you, you know, open up some new revenue streams or try to capitalize on some that used to be offline for you guys. And that's going to be May 12th at 11 a.m. there. So, yeah, I want to kind of answer a couple questions here.
Okay.
I think, you know, I have one from Kimberly. She's saying, do you think the increased traffic and analytics is attributed to people that would normally shop in store that are now pivoting their purchase behavior, or is this due to the improvements the company is making? So I think it's going to be a little bit of both. Oh, Oscar would like to answer this live question. Okay. So with that particular client, you know, we're working with, it's really twofold. One is just by the sheer numbers of that statistic we showed you of people shopping online and spending more time on their devices, and some people that may be considered high risk that have to do a lot of their shopping online, you're just going to have that in general. But in if the business isn't optimized for the website, whether it's search engine optimization for people just Googling it organically, or whether they're doing ads and it's popping up there, you can't, just because you're good at doing ads or SEO, you still have to make sure the website is poised to capture the user's payment information and make it simple and easy for them to go through the transaction. So I do believe it's both. But the people that are taking advantage now to optimize their site or doing little things that can help out are going to see a bigger, they're going to capture more of the market share of people that are, increased amount of people that are searching. So
yeah, even as we come out of all of this, whenever that may be, I mean, I doubt it's going to be something where it's like, boom, okay, as of this date, everything's back to normal, right? I mean, that's not going to happen. This is going to be a scalable thing. So even if you have a retail store, you're only going to be allowed to have X many people in for a certain period of time. But let's say they do just open all the doors and no regulation at all. You're still going to have people that are at risk. And why would you want to minimize or have any chance that they couldn't, you know, utilize you or buy your product or service? So you still want to have that online presence, because there's still always going to be a percentage of the population that is going to prefer to contact you or to reach out to purchase from you on a digital platform rather than in person.
Absolutely. And then I see Greg has a question as well, but let's go to 2 more slides because that'll really come on in when we show in a form here.
So I just wanted to show this one real quick. Just keep it simple. This is just a homepage. This is one of our clients that immediately, you know, being a golf course, a country club, obviously that was all shut down. So the first thing they wanted to highlight for their visitors was, hey, we are available for takeout. So it's that simple. Here's our menu, here's the phone number, and here, you know, they're off and running. So they changed the front and center. First thing that you saw on their website was very specific to their offering. They didn't want to talk about golf or anything like that. That's not important right now when that's completely closed. So that said, as soon as they were able to open up, keep it current. So they updated their site immediately. As soon as they were able to reopen the golf course, obviously they want to highlight the both offerings. This is actually located in their hero space. So when you go to their website, it's the first thing that you see. And that's what we're highlighting is, even if you don't want to take it to that level of building out e-commerce or having all of that information available, you know, we understand not everyone's willing to spend money right now. Everyone's a little skeptical. There's a lot going on, a lot of unknowns, but you don't want to turn down potential business. So the key is just at least getting that information out to your users. And if we go here, this is a really good example. So again, with the whole notion of keeping the cash flowing, this is just one of our clients that has a registration form. I wanted to highlight it because it can be as complex or as simple as you want as far as collecting payment. But this one has like information, different drop-down menus. You can have this very, very simple. I've got a client where you literally put in your name and your invoice number, and then the quantity that you want to pay for your online payment, and then obviously your payment information. This one, is just a form that asks a little bit more information, but really, again, it's all about just by adding this to your site, you've now increased your, if this had to happen in person, obviously you're not collecting any money until, I don't know, maybe later this month, hopefully. Guess we'll find out. So yeah, just a couple of good examples there.
So if you want to stay here, this is a great place for Greg's question that he asked, which was, what do you typically recommend for taking payments from a security perspective? Is there an encryption or tokenization? Is the gateway secure? So great questions. So it's really simple to add a gateway if your website's set up appropriately. So as Tyler mentioned with WordPress, we have a form builder and they have an extension to add a payment gateway. The gateway that we recommend just because of ease of use and its integration capabilities is Stripe. But there's also Authorize.net. You can use PayPal Pro and several others. But yeah, you have to make sure that if you're taking online payments, you not only have the gateway hooked up, but also that you have a secure socket layer, that SSL up in the top left. And that's one of the foundational pieces in our building blocks, is to make sure you have that secure socket layer. And with that, you can encrypt as highly as you want. We have some banking level clients that we work with that have like 2056-bit encryption. So it really depends on if you're any of your industry standards, any HIPAA compliance. So it really depends on what industry you're in from that standpoint. So I don't know if that answers your question, Greg, but if you want to follow up, please feel free to type in there. So.
Yep. Absolutely. And speaking of SSL, keep in mind that's extremely critical moving forward as of even last fall, because Google, when it comes to SEO, Google does not actually scan your site anymore if you don't have it secured. So your SEO rankings will plummet if you don't have an SSL on your site. So just something to keep in mind.
And we'll get more detail.
Organic searches.
And we'll get more in detail of all the gateways and things when we talk more e-commerce next week. So.
Yep, absolutely. So really now, if we have additional questions, wanted to get into that, just high level, this was just the groundwork, just the bare bones minimum information to know about updating your site in this time. And then next week, we're really going to dive further into kind of overall digital growth. And that's going to be very focused on e-commerce, go more in depth on the forums and things like that as well. So, and that's at 11 a.m. next Tuesday. So any questions, please type those in and we can go through those. Brett, if you want to, I'll let you kind of spearhead that.
Sure. Yeah, I think if any more come on in, otherwise I can.
Well, I thought that was good information, you guys. I think, again, as we started, the piece of making your website or making your business transactional using the internet is really the first step to creating that online opportunity. So well done. I thought this was my first time watching this, so great job, you guys. I appreciate taking the time
for Brett and Tyler. Any thoughts about companies that are in the service business? What are the things they can do? From a retail, takeout for restaurants, that kind of stuff. It's you can see it, but service companies have different needs and just kind of a different type of clientele. So any thoughts you can share with us?
Sure. Brett, did you want to take that first, or?
Sure. Yeah, I think especially in the restaurant capabilities, this kind of was a story I was going to share next week, but it works perfect for your question here. Is that is there any other how can you pivot your business? So I read an article about a restaurant in Canada, and what happened was, the rest, they were losing a whole bunch of money. But what they decided to do was they had a lot of food coming in every week just from the normal distribution, because they're a pretty sought after restaurant. And they pivoted and they offered groceries. And so they started showing that you can come here and buy your groceries. So the people that are trying to want to buy local, maybe not want to go to the larger box retailers and support local group, they are now considering keeping open the restaurant in the sense of groceries after COVID is done. So it's just trying to think of a unique way that you can capitalize on new revenue streams versus, I know of a local restaurant here in the Valley that actually shut down because they were losing too much money regarding food being shipped and not being able to cook as much of that to make their profits back. So it's just that simple thing like that, to where this business in Canada is thriving and the one locally here had to shut down. And then regarding like services, that kind of goes into the simple things that we were talking about today. Is there any way that you could offer gift cards? That can help. And then you have to, kind of promote that via social media or on your website. Was there any particular services, John, that you were wondering that are being hit harder, or just?
Well, in a lot of cases, those in the service industry are just kind of, it's, they may be more caught up in the non-essential, piece of the shutdown order, and they're trying to do what they can remotely and that sort of thing. But if there were anything they can do online that might be helpful to generate interest in their companies and product or their services that they provide, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I would say now it's a critical time to be really looking at your that infrastructure, that online infrastructure, and seeing, like, is this a time that we could be building a stronger following for when we do open back up? If, let's say, you're a service industry, your service business, you're completely closed. It's a great time to be updating that, looking at the back end. How can we build out our social media? How can we be sharing? A lot of companies are finding right now, talking about your product, nobody cares, or your service, nobody cares right now. Everyone's in panic mode. So maybe highlighting some of the things, some of the ways that you're supporting your community, or, again, build that following based on some relevant things that your potential customer for the future is going to start following you regarding. So maybe it's just inspirational things, or, I know even at Stellar Blue, we start posting, like, we had a pajama day and people were posting about, what they were wearing that day, like if they were in their pajamas working at their computer or whatnot. Just random things, but it's really just a little bit more lighthearted, because we're all going through this together. Nobody really has a definitive answer on what to do or what the future is going to hold. So be willing to share that as a business. How you react and what you do share in those times could really help, you stay top of mind when businesses do start opening back up.
Yep. And one more quick caveat on that was also, now is a great time, since everybody's on their devices, social media has increased, all that, is if there's any way that you can, educate or be an expert in your field and put out content that people are going to be finding, and you're building those relationships so people get to know you during this time, since through social distancing, that when everything's be able to open up more, because maybe some of you're not able to capitalize digitally for whatever reason, that your service industry, but just being sought after, and grow your brand during this time, make connections and grow your brand so you can set yourself up for success afterwards.
One thing I am finding is people seem to be a little more attentive these days. They seem to be looking for information from on a variety of different things. So when we send out a lot of stuff, for example, and when people are really involved with their business, they're it's sometimes they miss stuff, but nowadays it just seems to be a little different. They're just kind of grabbing onto things and looking for things.
Yeah. John, I got a question for you. I know you guys at the Oshkosh Chamber are holding those town meetings now. Are you finding there's a lot of people that are gravitating to those?
Yeah, people are really interested in it. I think part of it is the the topics we had, the people we've had, talking, whether it's a city manager, county executive, our U.S. Senator Ron Johnson and others. We're getting good, 100 plus type
Awesome.
folks listening to that. The one coming up on Thursday is we got the medical affairs director for Ascension Mercy, and also the president of Aurora Medical Center talking about it. And people are very interested in what they have to say. I mean, you hear a lot of stuff from the public health folks, and sometimes it doesn't really jive with what the medical folks are seeing and saying. So it's should be good information, good discussion.
Good. I found the convenience is amazing.
Yeah.
I would have never been able to attend something at City Hall at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday or a Thursday. Right. Now I'm like, hey, no problem. It's 11 o'clock. Let me tune in and hear what's going on. So
exactly.
I think that's a real positive. It's a positive influence that the internet's having on that opportunity for us.
Although I am looking forward to the days we don't have to do that.
But will you ever stop now? You might,
well,
we transition there, but I don't know if that'll ever stop now.
I don't think we'll stop. I'm just hoping the topic is different. I mean,
right. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. Let's talk about the openings of things for sure. No, I agree with you, but I just like the convenience of being able to communicate with the community without stressing to have to go somewhere personally.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Yeah, we got one more question too. I just saw that pop in here from anonymous attendee. But it was, what about medical training where they need hands-on skills for practice on there? And I can actually speak a little bit to this because one of our clients is Gold Cross Ambulance Service here in the Valley. And they have a store online where they can purchase not only AEDs and supplemental training materials, but also they hold classes to get this training on how to perform CPR and other first responder type abilities that you can do. So I can't speak to, if the rules are allowing them to still go out and do all the trainings, per the 6 feet, rule and everything, but they did definitely take advantage. We're finishing up adding more products to their store right now, so they can take advantage of that critical training and AED devices.
But there's discussions about how does that go virtual as well now, and through video interactions and things like that. That's where that medical training and any training is going to have to adjust. And there is a learning curve. There's no doubt there's a learning curve for every one of us, but somewhere up the road here, we're going to have online medical training and being certified and all that. It's going to have to be.
You get virtual reality in the mix. I know there's online, like welding. You can. Some of the colleges are actually certifying, welders and things virtually because they can see if they're cutting correctly and making the welds. Same thing with training. I'm sure they're figuring out unique ways that they can do this virtually. If anything, COVID has brought up, I've noticed a new kind of philosophy and thinking is, it's kind of the whole, nobody thought you could break, 4-minute mile until they got done. And then it's, going less. And the same thing with this is like, I don't think people thought they could function a lot virtually and make a lot of, sales or have their employees work, flex from home around there. Now it's becoming kind of the norm. And I think a lot of people are finding, as Jim was mentioning, I kind of like having a little bit more free time. Think of people that had to commute a couple hours a day, and now like, wow, I have all this extra time to do some, personal, kind of goals and trying to grow yourself personally, but also all this extra time to do your work. So it's really interesting. I'm noticing that.
But to play off of that question, those are the type of questions everybody's asking right now. It's not only medical training, but every service industry, every industry is asking those questions right now. We're fielding a couple hundred a week of, hey, I'm in this business, what do we do? And it's really about brainstorming. And it really comes down to it, like the guys were saying earlier, the creativity of your business to not only be found out there, but to make your product transactional. And how do we make money online and being creative in your approach. And the ones that are the most creative, they're going to be the most successful. And those stories are sprouting up all over the world right now. People that have found creative ways to make money. And it starts at the brainstorming level.
Yeah. Okay. All right, well, gentlemen, thank you for joining us. This is our first session of our Surviving to Thriving by Stellar Blue Technologies. So anybody out there, if they have questions, any follow-up, I think they could certainly connect up with any of the three.
Absolutely.
The website is and the email address is on screen there. So please do that. Next week we have our blueprints for digital growth. We'll be building on the first session that we heard today. So we'll see you again next week, Tuesday the 12th at 11 a.m. And hopefully everyone has a good weekend.
I'll say one more thing, John, before we leave. If you do anything between now and next week, go look at your analytics or find a way to look at your website or online analytics. We'll be talking a lot about that. So we'll have a lot of ability to answer your questions when you look at your analytics. So if we do anything between now and then, that'd be it. So thanks, John. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Have a good week.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Be safe. Bye.